The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. My name is Sonia Kutenbrauer, and here are your news headlines for 3:30. Richmond will be holding a council meeting today to decide on the possibility of a safe drug consumption site, but not without conflicting opinions from the community. Reporter Aaliyah Andres has more details ahead of tonight's meeting.
Richmond City Council is set to make a decision today on whether to pursue a request for a safe consumption site near the Richmond Hospital. Earlier in the month, Council voted 8-1 in favor of further discussing the site after 2023 reported over 2,500 deaths linked to toxic drugs in BC. The idea has since attracted a lot of negative community feedback. A Change.org petition in opposition of the safe drug consumption site has received 17,000 signatures, as well as concern from residents that the site could bring more harm than good. The council is arranged to meet at 6:30 p.m. this evening. Aaliyah Andres, BCIT's The Crow.
An event featuring advocates from Black and Indigenous communities will be speaking in New Westminster tomorrow night. Our reporter Anthony Atanesov has more on a conversation that will seek to provide ideas toward dignified housing.
The Massey Theatre will be featuring a conversation tomorrow night on the historical disposition and displacement of Black and Indigenous peoples in BC. This will focus on the ongoing need for culturally safe housing and will feature a housing project brought forth by the Swahili Vision International and Aboriginal Land Trust. Co-organizer Chantel Spicer, campaign manager with BC Poverty Reduction Coalition, says the relationship between Black and Indigenous people's fight for dignified housing is not a new one.
Potentials in having really unique housing projects like the 6th Street Housing Project, and also refocus the conversation on Black futures and their relationship to Indigenous futures.
The event starts at 5:30 tomorrow. Anthony Atanesov with BCIT The Crow.
Our reporter Anthony Atanesov now joins us in studio to tell us more. Anthony, you mentioned the ongoing difficulty in culturally safe housings. What are some solutions this conversation is suggesting?
Well, after speaking to Chantel, the co-organizer of this whole event, I asked her the very difficult question of, what are the solutions to dignified housing for tackling some of these barriers that these communities face? And ultimately, collaboration is the number one thing. I mean, if you look at all the different groups that are involved in this conversation tomorrow, it's, between the Luma Native Society, the Swahili Advocate Society, and several others, it's just a lot of different communities impacted by a similar problem involved in housing. So dialogue and education is key to ultimately also provide people with information on some of the history in the displacement and what these communities have gone through and solutions moving forward. And this conversation will also involve a housing project as a sort of solution.
So, Anthony, tell us a bit more about this housing project.
So this was brought forward by the Swahili Advocacy International Society. Chantel was telling me that she was working with this group, and this group, in conjunction with the Indigenous one of the Indigenous groups, they came together with BZ Housing, and they've helped develop a 96-unit affordable community center housing for Black and Indigenous peoples in New Westminster. They felt that was an area where there's, an increased population there and a need that's unrepresented. And so housing is one of the big things that they are now providing, and these will be available early this year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you.
Manitoba and RCMP have announced a 29-year-old man is facing 5 charges of first-degree murder. The bodies of the victims were discovered yesterday after police were called to the scene of a hit-and-run where a 30-year-old woman was found lying deceased in a ditch. Police later responded to reports of a burning vehicle where the bodies of 3 children were discovered. RCMP Inspector Tim Arsenault spoke to the media where he confirmed the victims were the wife, 3 children, and 17-year-old niece of the accused.
Yesterday, we had provided information that a witness assisted in pulling the 3 young children from the burning vehicle. However, in speaking with the witnesses and gathering other information, this is no longer accurate. Further information has revealed that it was the suspect that removed the children from the vehicle. Our officers are now working to determine a timeline of events.
The body of the teen girl was later found at the accused residence. Ryan Manakisik of Carmen, Manitoba, was taken into custody yesterday. And this month marks 2 years since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. Our reporter Jake McGrail shares how one local organization is marking this anniversary with a black tie fundraising event.
On March 3rd, the Vancouver Club on West Hastings Street will play host to the Decade of Hope Gala Dinner, hosted by the Maple Hope Foundation. The foundation marks its own 10-year anniversary this year. It was founded in 2014 following the Russian annexation of Crimea. A decade on, Maple Hope is still working to provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine as well as support Ukrainian refugees in Canada. The gala will feature a 3-course meal, live music including a performance by Ukrainian artists, a photography exhibit, and a live auction. Maple Hope says the proceeds from the gala will be used to provide medical supplies to those living in war-torn areas of Ukraine, as well as mental health support for children living there. The event is organized by BCIT instructor Svitlana Kuminko, who is the CEO and co-founder of the Maple Hope Foundation. Jake McGrail, BCIT's The Crow.
An Indigenous-led organization is accusing the BC Fisheries Department of what they call gross mismanagement of aquaculture. The First Nations Wild Salmon Alliance is calling for a separation of its regulatory and promotional responsibilities. The group's chairman, Bob Chamberlain, says the department is mirroring conflict of interest due to its dual role. He says in order for the department to stick to its primary job of taking care of the environment, a truly independent scientific body is necessary in order to help inform the government's decisions.
The risk assessments were implemented, closely managed and influenced by senior officials from DFO Aquaculture, and employees, contractors, and others linked to the salmon farming industry served on the steering committee and as senior reviewers so that the conflict of interest threatened the integrity of the process.
Drag is an ever-growing popular art form full of self-expression and positivity. But as our reporter Zach Clark discovered, it's also a way for them to support causes that are near and dear to their hearts.
Local drag artist Sassafras is part of what's called a drag court, which is a collection of drag artists. These courts are nonprofit organizations, and Sassa's court is touring to raise money for LGBTQ+ individuals to escape violence. Rainbow Refuge, their charity of choice, brings those persecuted folk to come reside and be themselves in Canada.
There's lots of people that are escaping transphobia as well as homophobia, and that's really important because we were just luckily born here and we don't have to fight for that, but there are people who experience lots of violence in other countries.
Their court continues to tour and raise money, with the next stop visiting Seattle. Zach Clark, BCIT The Crow.
And now for the weather. If you've been outside today, you've probably seen that it's raining, so be sure to bring your umbrella today. We'll see a high of 9 and night lows of 2. The rest of the week should be sunny with a chance of showers. That's all for your news headlines to 3:30. Next up, we'll take a look at sports.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Welcome back to BCIT News The Crow. My name is Sonia Kutenbrauer, and here are your sports headlines to 3:30. The Vancouver Canucks are preparing to take on the Chicago Blackhawks in their next road matchup. The number 1 ranked Canucks will be in Chicago Tuesday to face off against the Blackhawks, who are currently ranked the worst in the league. Ouch. The Canucks picked up their 35th win of the season yesterday against the Washington Capitals. Forward JT Miller scored the winning goal with 5 seconds remaining in overtime for the 4-3 victory. The Canucks took the win after 2 losses in a row, a 4-3 OT loss to Detroit and a 4-0 loss to Boston. The Canucks forward Connor Garland, who scored in yesterday's game, spoke to the media about the team's efforts despite some tough matchups.
I think we've been happy with our compete and effort for most of all the games. I think Boston was a slip up, but we were pretty good in Detroit and good again tonight, but just found a way to get one late in another tight game.
Canucks head coach Rick Tocchet was also pleased with the team's win. Here's what he had to say.
Well, it's just a mucky game. You're going to have these games in an 82-game schedule. Thought some guys were tired, which that means you have to play smart. And we turned the puck over a few times halfway through the game. I thought we were a little bit better as the game went on, but some games you got to play when you don't have your legs, and you got to play smart.
The Kansas City Chiefs are expected to take to the streets of downtown Kansas City on Wednesday for their victory parade. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl Sunday night in a tight matchup over the San Francisco 49ers. Led by Taylor Swift's boyfriend Travis Kelce and quarterback Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs took the 25-22 point victory in overtime, marking their 3rd Super Bowl win in 4 years. ABC reporter Alex Jones was at the game in Las Vegas, where he caught up with one fan who was particularly excited about the victory, as well as a special surprise for her mom.
Erica is from Columbia, Missouri, and brought her mom to the game.
I'm a diehard Chiefs fan, and I took her to the Super Bowl this year and said, please, Jesus, let them win. So,
and they did.
And they did, and here we are.
Oh, and with the win, she had something else to tell her mom.
I actually just told my mom tonight that I am pregnant with my first child, so them winning was like a double whammy for me.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much.
Alex Stone, ABC News, inside Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
Burnaby FC has announced they will be expanding their development program. The local soccer club has joined BC League One, a semi-professional league in the province. Beginning next year, both men's and women's teams will be known as Burnaby FC L1 and will play their inaugural season at Burnaby Lake West. Burnaby FC president Guido Titoto says this next chapter will be important for the growth of the local game. League One Canada also has divisions in Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec, and is the 3rd highest level of Pro-Am soccer in the country. Nick Taylor has become Canada's highest-ranked golfer after winning a PGA Tour title in Phoenix. His victory over Charlie Hoffman on Saturday marks his 5th PGA title. Taylor was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, moved in early in childhood where he would grow up in Abbotsford. With the victory, Taylor has reportedly moved up to 28th from 55th in official Golf World rankings. That was your sports news to 3:30, and that does it for today's news headlines. My name is Sonia Kutenbrauer, and you're listening to BCIT News, The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.